My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is the use of police vehicles as opposed to helicopter. It's the same exact stalking. They're being disbanded. This is surveillance. Light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity. In this specific environment. Demons. Those are demons. That's an iteration of the same pattern of conduct where the entity is engaging when it's flying, circling, follow me running helicopter. They're engaging in the same conduct, stalking with impossible light activity, doing so while the entity is amplifying helicopter activity and crossing path by repeatedly flying over and around me by helicopter. And the entity, that's the same entity that is very fearful of my documentation that they engaged in trying to block on the internet the podcast, for which the entity that's engaged in kidnapping, criminal defamation, they're going to federal prison. That's called criminal summoning. That's the fire department that's going to be no more, Michael GERKEN. That's the police department that's going to be no more, Mike LORENZ. And that's the people of the state gang stalking with the state. ARCO and CHEVRON still gang stalking like they are when the entity is stalking by helicopter. This is P.O.C. These are demons that are stalking in the path. It's impossible light activity, not headlights. Demons. That's all impossible light activity. Those are demons. And these demons have the audacity to not only be exposed, then when they're exposed, because they're the ones that are now being bullied with their own ignorance, as I put it back in their face and I put it all over the internet and I'm going to prosecute and legislate, the entity has the audacity to try to block a podcast, you're going to federal prison. And you're still stalking, Satan. They still have not learned the lesson. That's why they're going to prison. And so are the people of the state. That was P.O.C. It's the same exact pattern of conduct. That's not headlights. Those are not headlights. Honda, Toyota, Volkswagen, they're not creating vehicles that shoot light out of the sides of your car and out of the roof of your car. They're not creating vehicles that create that vacillating light that blinds everybody on the road so that you're crashing in front of everyone. These are demons that was engineer light, and those demons just use fire trucks and police vehicles. That's P.O.C. They're doing the same thing, stalking with light and impossible light on the side of the car. They're driving at engineer light on the driver's side of the vehicle, and they're doing so, they just don't have sirens. P.O.C. This is mental illness. P.O.C. This is a mentally ill criminal summoning, stalking. Just like the Ontario International Airport is, Southwest Airlines. Not only are they stalking by not flying over the ARCO parking lot, that's evidence of stalking. They're not flying at a distance over there. They're flying as close to me as possible. Where you're looking at demons that are engaging what is light activity, sounding and surrounding with sirens. That's the mentally ill terrorist, Michael GERKEN, the mentally ill terrorist, Mike LORENZ, ill terrorist, the people of the state. Stalking with impossible light activity. I captured it on video. I captured it on a daily basis. They're all engaging in this sex offense together as demons, stalking and monitoring together while a fake sun remains over me at this intersection, which I captured, reflecting off of the window of Starbucks during the 7 a.m. hour and still sitting over me at this same exact location where they're engaging in what the purpose of the fake sun is, stalking with light. That's what all this is, while the entity's maintaining ongoing sirens, the demons that are going to be put in federal prison and in mental asylums, and they're also going to be wiped away from existence. There will be no fire department in Ontario. There's not Michael GERKEN, and all those demons engaging in terrorism, they're done with being firefighters, they're done with being police officers, and there will definitely be no Ontario International Airport that's engaged in terrorism. That's why they're flying right here next to me, engaging in what is terrorism, stalking, and using the particular gang stalker, Southwest Airlines. While a demon is walking right by me, stalking me, a mentally ill psychopath stalking somebody that's outside. They're all engaging in what is stalking. Omnitrans has no sun that remains in the window of those buses while I'm documenting the fake sun reflecting off of Starbucks at 7, remaining over me at this parking lot at 9:52 in the morning. It didn't go anywhere. Contrary to when this entity, the same one stalking with sirens and lights, molesting me, being prosecuted as sex offenders in doing so, have a fake sun remaining over me that goes to West Valley Detention Center at 12:51 in the afternoon, but yet it's sitting stationary. When I'm kidnapped and amongst those demons that take me to another place, that fake sun goes to another place. Yesterday, it remained right here where they're stalking with light. Stalking with light is what demons do. Michael GERKEN, Mike LORENZ, Alan D. WAPNER, Julia Gu, Kurt Hagman, Jim Bowman, they are demons and they're engaged in terrorism, and so is the entirety of the Ontario Executive Board and I.I.S. is going to be deporting any of those terrorists that are not natural-born citizens. Federal law is going to put terrorists that engage in kidnapping, like the city of Ontario has, in federal prison. And that includes the demons that are gang stalking on Euclid Avenue, where the entity keeps a fake sun from sunrise until sunset. P.O.C. That's P.O.C. This is mental illness. This is a public service announcement regarding massive mental illness that is going to be addressed with regard to what is psychopathic behaviors, sexual violence, which is designed to psychologically harm other people that an entity of stalkers intend to murder. And they do so by stalking you as a whole government system. It is referred to in the vernacular as gang stalking, and it's demonic activity. This is the Nephilim, and this is a mentally ill population, millions of them, and they fill the state of California. The Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, and the Ontario International Airport are going to be removed from existence because the Nephilim has infected them. This is P.O.C. Serial flight. About every 30 seconds. This has nothing to do with any takeoffs from the airport. This is clear stalking, and this is mental illness. That's U.S., that's representing terrorism, engaging it and facilitating it amongst the masses. And this is light activity that they're maintaining around the perimeter, and this is also where the fake sun rises. This is the same population of demons that are molesting with impossible light that appears on the wall while they're driving on the opposite side of the fake sun that's still on this street, while I come and return to the same address. And the fake sun is at 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon over my head on this same street. This is called stalking with light. This is mental illness. This is very severe. Michael GERKEN's going to be relieved. They're not a fire department. This is surveillance, and surveillance is amongst the demon possessed who are severely mentally disturbed. Okay, they're engaged in what is stalking with light. They just do so with sirens and red and yellow lights on them. They're engaged in the same sex offense, molestation, the perpetual sex offense that's committed by the government, and facilitating sexual violence, facilitating psychological torture, facilitating what is the ongoing demise of the targeted individual. This is not legitimate business, and I'm going to prosecute the city of Ontario for conspiring my murder and gang stalking. Serial flight is occurring with regard to what is ongoing stalking in the path and light activity and audible noise. And the entity is exhibiting mental illness while they're stalking in commercial planes. This is what the same agency stalking in police vehicles this morning is doing when they're stalking by helicopter, exhibiting severe mental illness. And you have ongoing context. The entity that is shown across the world already knows that the entity is stalking in helicopters in Ontario, California. That's giving you context. All they're doing is stalking. Because they're doing that with the Ontario police that uses helicopters, speaking to very severely mentally ill people that are going to be abruptly removed from positions where they are even anything remotely close to being confused with law enforcement, because that's not law enforcement. That's mental illness that is going to be addressed. And that's going to be addressed with what is federal prison. Those are demons that are stalking with light. They just don't have sirens. That's the only difference. P.O.C. It is currently 7:06 a.m. You're going to look at the images. These demons are engaged in ongoing serial flight. Southwest Airlines stalking right here, hovering over the Truth and Love Family Ministries where there's no takeoffs. U.S. gang stalking, making a U-turn right here. They're focusing on where I'm located. They're stalking in the path. Demons, stalking with light. Demons, pacing, not traffic. This is surveillance, and they're demons. This is where the fake sun rises and sets. 537 North Euclid Avenue. It's 7:08 a.m. This is P.O.C. It's 7:07 a.m. at what is F Street in Euclid, where the fake sun does not go beyond F Street. It doesn't go beyond C Street at the OVITT Family Community Library on the opposite side of this parking lot, where I showed you the fake sun after 5 p.m. shooting through like a laser. This is giving context about what they're all doing. They're all stalking with light. They're all stalking in the airspace, obsessed with my vagina, stalking me in bathrooms. That's what is gang stalking, the mentally ill, the Nephilim. P.O.C. All right, this is understanding the purpose, the context. This is stalking along Euclid Avenue where I'm located. They're engaging in what is flight across the ARCO parking lot. When I'm in that parking lot, they're doing so on the street where the fake sun rises and sets. This is the outstanding, spectacular, radical, psychopathic pattern of stalking using commercial planes. And the Ontario International Board, Ontario International Airport, the airport board, the Ontario executive team, they're being removed from position for it. Okay, gang stalkers like U.S., American Airlines, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, they're engaging in what is domestic terrorism, and they're going to be prosecuted as the terrorists that they are. And this is, again, a public safety concern. These airlines murder people. They don't have accidents. They're engaged in the satanic system of sacrificing people through gang stalking them. They murder people by flying planes into mountains and bodies of water and then conducting what are congressional hearings to discuss what went wrong. What happened is that was a demon, just like these are stalking under things like a fake sun, amongst engineer light, amongst a population of terrorists that are sacrificing together. And they make money and profit off of it. They maintain a business to systematically engage in it and then control the narrative after. That's what stalking in a plane along Euclid Avenue, engaging what is U-turns, which has nothing to do with the published flights that Alan D. Wapner doesn't even accurately reflect when he knows that I'm documenting the city of Ontario gang stalking using commercial planes. The evidence of severe mental illness. This is P.O.C. and it's in concert with all these demons stalking under a fake sun. P.O.C. That's the entity that's stalking. 706-2081. That's the entity that's engaging in what is threatening because of their listening to how I'm analyzing and documenting. That's the entity that engages in assault with a deadly weapon. That has served no purpose. Just coming and speeding next to me and continuing. Those are hostile demons. Psychopaths driving in impossible light, stalking with impossible light, sounding sirens. It's the same impossible light. Michael GERKEN, Mike LORENZ, psychopath stalking with commercial planes. The Ontario International Airport. This is mental illness. This is massive, pervasive mental illness. They're all stalking. You see that light on the mountains? It's not sunlight. These are demons. This is P.O.C. This is P.O.C. This is mental illness. All the ways in which a population is stalking and obsessively stalking with light. While the objective of stalking with light are the demon-possessed that are monitoring you. And it's a population that's engaging in that intentionally. They're all driving in impossible light activity. Okay, and it's reaching across. This is my shadow appearing in the shade. They're all driving in it, they're monitoring, they're stalking as a population. 8KSF312 is a demon. Him and the female in the car, they're both demons and they're both stalking. They're also engaging in what is sex offenses as an entity, monitoring genitalia. There is no sun that's going to cause sunlight to appear in the shade like this, but it is for the gang stalking purposes of the masses that are stalking in commercial planes while they're driving in it, while they're making noise in it, while they're creating peculiarized light, flashing light in it, and while they're maintaining traffic, which is surveillance. The entity, this is the same venue. Starbucks fake sun at 6 o'clock in the morning, Starbucks fake sun at 7 o'clock in the evening. Starbucks is engaged in gang stalking. That's why the Ontario International Airport is flying over it, around it, next to it. You will prosecute Starbucks. Starbucks represents how you're going to prosecute every business. All I did was go inside of Starbucks and show you how the people of the state are engaged in domestic terrorism with the government. That's what the evidence, speaking to what Starbucks is engaging in, it shows you how all of the people of the state, every business is engaged in targeting American citizens. Those demons happen to be very unintelligent and also desperate. They committed kidnapping. They're going to federal prison. All right, the entities engaged in what is keeping a fake sun. They're driving an engineered light. Here's the fake sun here, and here is inexplicable light in the shade. This is an illusion. Just like the unintelligent illusion of demons driving under a fake sun that rises and sets on one street over one person. Stalking, 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 creating light activity, audible noise, relevant positioning. They're monitoring. They're monitoring, systematic monitoring. This is what you're paying attention to in the environment. I'm going to document all these demons and I'm going to prosecute the businesses. And this massive facilitation, the Ontario International Airport is intentionally in this environment, monitoring and facilitating it amongst the demon possessed. And they're maintaining serial flight. That's mental illness. This light activity is letting you know about massive mental illness. These are the demons that were engaged in criminal summoning. They're being disbanded. The kidnappers are going to prison. That's mental illness that's driving a police vehicle. Okay, that's a national security threat. It fills California. This is P.O.C. This is demon possession. Okay, demon possession. They already know. So those are the very mentally ill that engage in conduct. Why would you put yourself in this circumstance? I'm showing you supernatural evidence right here. Nobody's imagining or hallucinating about anything. The entity engages in more of it as you prove what they are. That's the admission of Mike LORENZ. That's the admission of the gang stalking businesses, Leonida Builders Incorporated. The entity is gang stalking using commercial flight, stalking American citizens. Because that's what you're doing in a specific environment. You're stalking. That's what you're doing when you're engaged in what is flying over places that no airport is maintaining any flight. You're stalking. You've just learned that the entity is stalking a specific person, that it intends. That's the purpose. That's the removal of Alan D. Wapner, Michael GERKEN, Mike LORENZ, Paul Leon. That's the removal of the so-called Ontario board. They're nothing other than vagina monitoring terrorists, and they're going to be removed for stalking Unheard of methods of mentally deranged stalking that is speaking to what is the conspiracy to murder the person that they are targeting under the fake sun, P.O.C. It is currently 7:22 a.m. This is the entity that's gang stalking. Pay attention to they're monitoring. And this is on a massive scale outside the light activity that's happening inside of OVITT Family Community Library, where this fake sun is still on this block. Inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, it's aiming just like this inside of the depths of the OVITT Family Community Library. This is the light activity conduct that you see. All manner of what is impossible light activity, systematic monitoring. They don't do so with vehicles inside of a building. They do so on foot and engineered light. It's the work of Satan and all of Satan's minions. These are demons. It's P.O.C. And I'll attach that video so you can look at it, because this is the tactic and it's very unintelligent. They're creating light activity systematically while every demon crosses paths. This is what they're doing, walking in and out of the entrance, slamming the administrative door inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, walking around with multiple shadows, stalking with light, mentally ill behavior, stalking in planes and helicopters, mentally ill behavior, stalking as a whole police department, mentally ill behavior, stalking as an entire fire department, mentally ill behavior. You are being immediately ripped out of those positions. You will not have a fire department, an airport, or a police department. You're engaged in terrorism. And you conspired murder, and you've been caught, and the whole world is witnessing how you've been caught. That's P.O.C. That is the P.O.C. I just want you to see this. Hold on. The entity is stalking by planes. They just took off behind the chevron. It's not funny, but it's so psychotic. It's so disturbing and so desperate. I want you to see this. They are stalking. The more that I call them out, the more that they're stalking. And remember, when I'm in this parking lot, they're flying straight over this way right here. They're engaging what is flying relative to where I'm at, and also trying to avoid, you're not avoiding being captured on video. This has nothing to do with what's published on the Ontario International website regarding flights arriving and departing. This is stalking. This is stalking, and you're recognizing stalking under a fake sun. Remember, the fake sun is still here at this chevron at 12 o'clock in the afternoon over La Hermandad. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's 7:24 a.m. That's also relevant context regarding what is stalking by engaging in what is U-turns. The Ontario International Airport is not maintaining any flights where they're paying passengers to engage in what is U-turns, tours of the section of the city where they engage in making U-turns over buildings and going back to the airport. This is what the entity is doing over all of my hotel rooms in Ontario. This is what the entity is doing while I am documenting a fake sun at all hours of the day in the city of Ontario. This is P.O.C. This is speaking to what is public corruption. You're going to prosecute for this. And I'm going to, on the podcast, identify license plates 9UQM 597. They're all co-conspirators of murder. That's why the mayor's being removed from office. The millions of people conspiring your murder while they're stalking you. 6YWX243, they're co-conspirators of murder. And they are mentally ill, obsessed with murdering you, obsessed with your genitalia, obsessed with stalking you. That's why they use planes and helicopters to do it. P.O.C. This is massive facilitation. You're looking at the same impossible light activity created. Every demon that is stalking in this specific environment, this is stalking by a population that's gang stalking one person. Remember the impossible light that's moving underneath the patio of Starbucks, the impossible light that's moving underneath the hood where they're filling up gas, gang stalking, and they're doing so in the shade again. You're in that environment, you're monitoring on a communication device, you're stalking. This is surveillance. And this is impossible light. Where's the shadow of their vehicles while they're driving in concentrated light, but yet you have more light manifesting in the shade, and there's the fake sun. This is what the entity is aiming inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, keeping my vagina under surveillance. 8LZB926, acting in furtherance of murder, 6ETF609. These are co-conspirators of murder, including Starbucks, Chevron, ARCO, Woodside, not Woodside, this is WCA, Ontario International Airport. The police department is pacing all around the perimeter, stalking. The entity does so while they are maintaining this is noise and presence and light. And they're doing it in engineered light. Here's my shadow over here. This is impossible light activity. Demons. This is the Nephilim. This is mental illness. Understand, this is mental illness. You are not filling up your gas tank. You're not buying a cup of coffee. You're not reporting to work at the health center. You're not engaged in traffic. None of this is constitutionally protected, and you're going to prosecute the people of the state. The commercial gang stalkers, like businesses and WCA, gang stalking, and you're going to prosecute the government. And this is in furtherance of murdering someone. This is the work of Satan. It's corruption, and it's understanding it's straight out of hell. This is what they do to murder people. harass, terrorize them, and stalk them as a population. The fake sun remains over you while they're all stalking you in what is impossible light, and they're mentally ill psychopaths. Look at to the left and right, and they're here stalking you. That's why this is here. Psychopaths. Keeping your vagina under surveillance, and then engage in what is criminal summoning with the gang stalker police. They go to federal prison. That's what's happening in the ocean, and all those demons are going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. This is no small thing. This is how you're going to understand how domestic terrorists are going to be targeted in this country. And the entity Israel is going to be gutted out. No Ontario International Airport, it's a terrorist, it's a sex offender. No Ontario Fire Department, it's a terrorist, it's a sex offender. No Ontario Police Department, it's a terrorist offender, and they're a kidnapper. Okay, P.O.C. It is currently 7:31 a.m. That's the entity that's gang stalking using small commercial planes, using commercial planes, and the government using, that's the same city of Ontario, using planes, stalking in the path with the engineer light. All of this environment is, they're acting together, and this is rampant mental illness. The ongoing malice, all the ways in which you're aware of the fact that the entity is surrounding you in an environment conducive to surveillance. Monitoring down to your genitalia, P.O.C. License plates LOPROS, and license looks like 9 Frank Mary Jerry 659. License 9 Henry 0 Nancy 601. License 9 Paul Larry Sam 776. Again, the ARCO employee systematically engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder of an American citizen by malicious employment at a facilitating venue in order to engage in and facilitate federal group stalking and monitoring, where ARCO and the place of employment is the specific environment facilitating that ongoing criminal conspiracy to murder, psychologically torture, sexually violate, harass, and terrorize, while criminally monitoring in violation of Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. License plate 9 Thomas Igloo Henry 520, going out of his way to gang stalk me at the OVITT Family Community Library. And doing so as I'm documenting at the Wells Fargo after I leave the venue where he is monitoring me by sitting inside of the ARCO where he works as a gang stalker. A place of employment is a means of identification. It's not a defense. That's where the people of the state are gang stalking. All right, that's where the government is stalking, where they're working, flying over their places of employment, doing so while the fake sun is there over the target individual at that place of employment. That's where they'll be prosecuted as well. It's 8:42 a.m. West Coast arborists engaged in surveillance, molestation with impossible light inside of this chevron where the light source follows. Yeah, I put it in already. Oh, okay, I'll start it again. Molestation inside of the venue, which is impossible light activity, as impossible, by the way, as a fake sun that's still here at sunset. In concert with the state and West Coast arborists, they're not engaged in tree trimming. It's surveillance, and they're standing in engineer light, sharing in a sex offense that the companies and the gang stalking employees are going to be prosecuted for. It's also a threat to your life. It's the ongoing conspiracy on behalf of the state to commit murder. This is mental illness. It's 9:08 a.m. Thank you. The entity is molesting my face, my body, while I'm inside of the depths of Chevron, which is speaking to, again, a mentally ill population that is stalking a specific person that they're ignorant about. These aren't strangers. These are demons. And legally, they are third parties that are in the shoes of the state, and they're conspiring the person that they're gang stalking. They're conspiring that person's murder. And stalking them incessantly with light is a demonstration of mental illness. They will also be committed. They'll be subject to mental examinations, and companies are going to be prosecuted for that unlawful threat to your life. The creation of businesses in California is serving criminal surveillance. It is public corruption. P.O.C. It's 9:09 a.m. And again, the immigration policy is such that gang stalking immigrants are a threat to this country, to national security, especially while the state conspires against American citizens with them, and they will be deported out of this country. West Coast arborists are gang stalking with the demons, license 26455U1.
And Balbier's license plate is 9 Edward Frank Henry 194. And her gang stalking co-defendants in the form of patrons are terrorizing, stalking, sexually violating, and conspiring my murder together. That's the purpose of them gang stalking in the first place. They're all mentally ill under a fake sun stalking me. And they disguise themselves under business names such as Chevron, ARCO, West Coast Arborists, and do so while they are in the form of what are patrons. This is P.O.C. That's all state action. 9012081. Balbier is threatening my life while she is gang stalking me maliciously as an employee, which the demons thought was going to be some sort of excuse or defense or some basis to defame another person that they're gang stalking. That's why you're being deported. That level of malice is intolerable. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:10 a.m. All right, gang stalking me the entire time. The West Coast Arborists, the Ontario International Airport, the Ontario Police, the Ontario Fire Department, all of that chaos. This is terrorism that an entity surrounds an American citizen that they are stalking and intentionally psychologically tormenting as mentally ill. They are tormented by demons that they are subservient to, and they torture other people in an effort to murder those people, the targeted individual. And these are the demon possessed, and they are appropriately referred to as what Scripture explains them as. They are the Nephilim. These are demons. And the demons are making up the corrupt body of government, engaging in what is public corruption in California, and they are going to be prosecuted for gang stalking, which is demonic activity, and it's also criminal surveillance. 7TGF122 is sharing in that criminal pattern of conduct. 8UVY870, 9FKV760, and literally, the government that they're gang stalking me with does them a disservice while gang stalking me while I read their license plates. This is the implosion of gang stalking. 5UCR830. 9UYM518, 6EWC171. But again, you're dealing with mentally ill people who are literally filled with demons, and so their obsession with me supersedes what they are not fathom. They can't fathom it until they're sitting in a courtroom, until they're hauled off to prison, until they're given that criminal record and identified as a violent sex offender, as a terrorist in the country, being deported. The demon-possessed are mentally ill. So they are still stalking me. That's what I'm documenting at the same time, while they are going to be subject to very severe penalties because it's a very serious criminal system. They murder people. These are serial killers. License. These are enemies of this country, exposed. License 8MQB725, 8SWH584. 8UMH340, 7TLD884. While I'm being stalked inside of a small little market by tree trimmers slash vagina monitoring stalkers and surveillance agents of the state, calling themselves employees of West Coast Arborists, demons all around an engineered light, and the employee of Chevron, Balbier, who may or may not be an immigrant, and if she is, she's out of here. She is out of here. And every other gang stalking immigrant, I want to be very clear. You shall be deported. It's not a contingency. You are being deported. It is mandatory. License 9012081, gang stalking at Chevron and now crossing path on Lemon Avenue. One of the fake sun moves to be over me. And it was over me while I was at Chevron where he was stalking. 7C76805, license plate. 9NPK359, 9JQK766, 8TJ8082. San Bernardino County Housing Authority, they're gang stalking corrupt government actors, just like the San Bernardino TAD Office, the Transitional Assistance Department, which is a function of the county. It's a gang stalker. The sun is never over 1627 East Holt like it is when I'm at that office, when it's remaining over the OVITT Family Community Library, where the demons are stalking, not flying a whole boulevard away from me, where we wouldn't hear it, see it over the Ontario Town Square, where Southwest Airlines and every other airline are flying over Holt Boulevard like they're taking off from the airport there. The entities engage in what is making as though they're rising over the, taking off above Chevron, taking off then over Starbucks, over Lemon Avenue, over the ARCO parking lot. As I progress south, the planes that are stalking are progressing south. 5NKW142. This is P.O.C. and it's 9:14 a.m. where the entity has a fake sun that is on the, what is the north side of the 320 North Euclid Avenue apartments. And this is where an entity is keeping a fake sun into the evening. The sunset that I captured inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, which is merely on the north side of the same apartment building, 320 North Euclid Avenue. I'm going to prosecute Sarah's Regis Group. They're also a gang stalking former employer of mine. I'm going to prosecute them. They were monitoring as I was an employee, and they're still a gang stalking company. That's why the apartment building is engaged in the pattern of conduct, and everybody in that apartment building, around that apartment building, gang stalking by flying over that apartment building. You are being prosecuted. Sarah's Regis Group is also a gang stalker by virtue of being headquartered in California. Everything in California is tainted. They're monitoring out here. These are demons, and it's entirely corrupt. P.O.C. It's 9:15 a.m. Stalking 9RAA 209. Stalking. These are homosexuals. 8KAG 896. Gang stalking females. Demon possessed. Obsessed with my vagina. Stalking another woman. Seeking to molest that woman's body while they are monitoring. Those are monitoring spirits that are hiding within females, and their behavior is that of homosexual and predatory conduct. It is, and it also psychopathic. It's 9:17 a.m. License 7JHJ063. Stalking, license 7JWD189. Stalking where the fake sign is still present at 4 o'clock in the evening. I'll go ahead and take a picture of that. It's over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library, just like it is at 5 o'clock in the evening, where I'm walking out at 6 p.m. The entity has a fake sign over the same entrance that it is right now. At 9:18 a.m., it's present over this entrance at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the unintelligent illusion, where you are identifying enemies of this country that want to be in positions that they are unfit, not only by their exposed mental illness, but because of the corrupt and criminal and anti-American and un-American conduct that they're engaging in. Like Paul Leon, a gang stalking mayor, okay? In the same civic center, the fake sign over that office at 12:51 p.m. over my head. At 12:51 p.m., it's over here in the same civic center. It's 9:18 in the morning. Okay, the entity is going to move a fake sun to be back over that entrance as I walk into it at 10 a.m., where everybody inside of that library, just like I've been documenting, monitoring my vagina, sex offenders exposed, embarrassed. That's speaking to a knowledge of impropriety. Psychopaths are not those that don't appreciate the illegality of the conduct or cannot recognize it or are unaware of it. Psychopaths are those that want to get away with it and don't want you to expose it. And they are enraged and become more maniacal. Okay, they don't become more docile, they become more maniacal. That's the stalking in helicopters flying in circles over me for an hour. They're going to prison. As you analyze that behavior, what American citizens have a right to not be subject to, they're going to be committed and they're going to be convicted. This is P.O.C. and those are demons that engage in that identical behavioral pattern. It's 9:19 a.m. with the fake sun following me as I'm walking to the Ontario Town Square. P.O.C. All right, there is your stalking by psychopaths. These are demons that are gang stalking as a population, engaging criminal summoning this morning using sirens and lights. And it is the same. What you need to understand, the bigger picture, is that they're stalking with light as a fake sun. They're accomplishing the same criminal objective, and it is a sex offense, because all this touching, this is an unlawful touching. You're touching my breast with light that's not even naturally occurring, while you're stalking because you're monitoring, and your demons doing so in furtherance of murder with the people of the state that engage in criminal summoning. That's why they go to federal prison. He's walking in impossible light activity. That's malice. Also, being the same entity that summons those gang stalkers to kidnap you, that's federal prison. And that's federal prison. The entities engaged in this on an ongoing basis. They're gang stalking me at this same town square with Securitas, engaged in years of targeting with the Ontario so-called police. They're gang stalking police. Those are a synonym for domestic terrorists. They're going to be disbanded and they're going to prison. There's a list of them that have engaged in kidnapping. As of 2019, the first one was Jonathan Burnett, and he's going to federal prison. His partners are providing what is evidence regarding how long he's going to federal prison on a daily basis as I continuously accumulate and prosecute him and that entire agency. Mike LORENZ and all the rest of them are done with law enforcement. Terrorism is the line.
The same with gang stalking immigrants. That's the line. That is a revocation of your privilege to be in this country. You're being deported, okay? As enemies of the country, you're as much as an enemy as a gang stalking police officer, and it is no badge to stay in this country. You can pack your bags because you're getting ready to be deported. It is currently 9:42 a.m. where the entity is keeping the fake sun at the Ontario Town Square, because this is where I'm at. And this is where the fake sun is still aimed after 5 p.m. inside of that OVITT Family Community Library, where the entity is keeping engineer lights to do things like monitor and keep under surveillance your vagina. That entity that's stalking by helicopter is stalking on the inside of that venue, while the fake sun remains over it and outside of the doors of it, and doing so until what is a fake sunset that's in alignment to me, including at this same location. That's mental illness that the entity is exhibiting, and they are doing themselves a disservice while they continuously show why you need to surrender today to Christ Jesus, because it will literally save your natural mind. These are delusional psychopaths who are not only damned to hell if they do not repent, but they are going to federal prison for kidnapping as a corrupt agency, and they are barred from law enforcement as engaging in what is domestic terrorism. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:43 a.m. Alrighty, repeatedly flying over my head while demons pace all around you, gang stalking together. This is the entity that's monitoring while it's being posted, the mental illness that the Ontario Police. This is what the demons possess that are on law enforcement agencies that are engaging in surveillance, not policing. They're engaging in what is bullying and maintaining a system of surveillance, not law enforcement. They're specifically monitoring me while I'm documenting the same thing at 5:39 p.m. at this same venue, Ontario Town Square. At 5:39 p.m., where this fake sun is still here, meaning those are demons and that's stalking a specific person. They engage in at 5:49 p.m. stalking me again in a helicopter, coming back for more, as I then begin documenting the evidence of them stalking me at 5:39 p.m. That's what I'm including on what is Facebook right now and on X. Gang stalkers, the police department that's engaged in what is criminal monitoring, those are demons and they're mentally ill psychopaths, and they engage in pacing all around me in concert with the puppets of Satan that engage in placement and all this engineer light under the fake sun stalking, and they do the same thing regarding my vagina, which is my Mike LORENZ is done with law enforcement. And all the demons that engaged in stalking as a corrupt agency, they're going to federal prison for kidnapping. This is P.O.C. This is the entity doing so in real time. It's currently 9:58 a.m. where the entity is engaging in this because it's being posted on X and Facebook right now. They're going to prison. This is P.O.C. Okay, terrorists stalking with the Ontario Police, sharing in mental illness and malice, and the conspiracy to commit murder. License 6 Zebra Wendy Sam 056, 8 Zebra Sam Edward 463, 23630 Yolanda 2. That's Leonida Builders, gang stalking. License 6 Victor Frank Zebra 093, 1678297. The demons of the city of Ontario. Paul Leon's being removed from office. License 9 David Sam Victor 579. That's criminal summoning, just like this morning. They're doing it under the fake sun. This is why they're being removed as a fire department, because it is no fire department. Their obsession is me and my vagina. U-Haul gang stalking AM 95883. That's the Arizona plate. License 8 Nancy George Paul 422. And all these third parties are monitoring with that same government that is criminally surveilling an American citizen, not engaging in what is the administration of any medical or emergency services. The emergency is that I'm documenting demons. 48393C4, parked in engineer light under the fake sun, monitoring a relevant position while the city is engaged in criminal facilitation, and they just all committed terrorism together on video while that police department stalks me with a helicopter and then comes back for more when I then put it on the internet, like they did at this same Ontario Town Square. Like I put it on Facebook, I put it on X, you can see it. It's also on YouTube, it's also on my website. All of it is published regarding the open and public investigation. On May 29th, they engaged in kidnapping. But on October 19, 2025 at 5:39 p.m. at this same Ontario Town Square, the fake sun is still in alignment to my person at that same wall where they're flying over and around me, flying over my head, terrorizing, openly engaging in what is very serious acts of terrorism in the United States, and they're going to prison for it. 96482 David 3. They committed that, and they engaged in the same pattern. Then after they engaged in that act of terrorism, stalking and harassing and terrorizing me, then I put it on the internet. Again, a delusional psychopath would do that for it to be put immediately on the internet. When you're going to be prosecuted for terrorism, as the mayor, as the government, as the population, those delusional psychopaths more obsessed with my vagina than realizing that they're going to be hauled off to
federal cells and asylums commit that, and it goes right on the internet, and then those demons at 5:49 p.m. come right back for more to stalk me as I then am putting it online. They did the exact same thing this morning, okay? Flying over my head as I'm putting it on X and Facebook. 7 Sam George Bob 109, 8 Bob Yolanda Perry 758. Gang stalking is, let's see, this is a coward trying to run real quick. The entity engages in the pattern of conduct. 8 Sam Uncle Sam 710. Metro 102 is gang stalking. The 280 North Lemon Apartments, the senior citizen community, they're gang stalking. That's nothing new. Alvarado Gardens, look at my evidence. Look at Woodside Senior Apartments, look at my evidence. You're not treated any different, and nor do the demon-possessed act any different because they're over 80. 8 Nancy Mary Henry 949. I mean, with liver spots, edema, weight issues, heart blood pressure issues, they are gang stalking in furtherance of murder. Same as specific environment. The demons don't slow down with the helicopter activity. This is a spirit that's even people that are around the block from a croak, okay? And they are gang stalking until their demise. 8 Sam Victor Zebra 986, and by the way, under federal law, you're not going to be treated any differently. You'll go to federal prison with your cane. 8 KCW 908, 7G KC 474, 5 NOZ 723. 5 MBN 577. 7 Jerry George Sam 071 is molesting with that psychopath on the opposite side of the parking lot. 7 Apple David Larry 006 stalking with the Ontario Police Department using helicopters to terrorize and psychologically torture. 9 Charlie Jerry David 388. And you're always mindful of the fact that I'm at this same Ontario town square at 1 o'clock in the afternoon where this fake sun is over me and that same agency of demons is stalking in a helicopter. You're always mindful of the fact that the entity is gang stalking via the Route 66 car show as I exit the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, and that fake sun is still here, while demons that like to refer to themselves as songstresses are a means of nothing other than amplified audible activity on a microphone under a fake sun, where the same demons of that agency are stalking in a helicopter. And a show called Route 66 is nothing other than an iteration of public corruption for you to understand how a government is monitoring, stalking, terrorizing, and conspiring murder of American citizens that they are targeting amongst multitudes. 4 Sam Yolanda Sam 141. While they're maintaining a concert, while they're maintaining a business venue, while they're holding what is a convention, while they're engaged in what is something that's supposed to be serious, like administering a California bar exam, the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct. The environment is present. The ongoing government system, the people of the state are present under all circumstances, and the P.O.C. is uninterrupted. You're going to prison for gang stalking as a police department. The entity does that in furtherance of murder. Okay? It is currently 10:13 a.m. This is P.O.C. Pollyanna's gang stalking while the fake sun's over me, and the Ontario International Airport is flying over his office, flying over the 280 North Lemon Apartments, flying over some demon-possessed gang stalking Jehovah's Witnesses, while the entity flies over not on the opposite side of the apartment building like they are when I'm there yesterday. It's currently 10:14 a.m. The fake sun is on the opposite side of the same apartment building. And this is where it remains outside of the doors of the OVITT Family Community Library, where a bunch of demons go inside of that building on behalf of the city of Ontario that's engaged in gang stalking. This is revealing how pathetic the demon-possessed are, but also how threatening they are with regard to the levels of corruption, the levels of perversion, the levels of what is investment in what is targeting someone. And the entity is engaged in all manner of every level of corruption. That is, the mayor is gang stalking, the fire department, the police department is gang stalking. Gang stalking is demonic activity, so this is no ordinary criminal act, obviously because of the level of government and corruption, but it's also no ordinary criminal act because they're demons. This is the Nephilim. These are not just criminals, these are maniacal psychopaths. And stalking in planes and helicopters is evidence of that as well. The fake sun moves as I move, and that's where the entity is stalking by planes. And the Ontario International Airport gang stalking is incriminating the police department. The gang stalking police department is incriminating the Ontario International Airport. It's not a police department, it's not a fire department, it's not an airport. They're domestic terrorists. This is P.O.C. Paul Leon's being removed from office under all circumstances, and he's keeping my vagina under surveillance. That's what everybody needs to know. He is unfit. He's mentally ill. He is of the Nephilim. He's a fake pastor as well, and he's going to be removed from office, and this is the public reasons as to why, and that shall be the policy for every terrorist seeking to hide themselves in this country while engaging in what is trying to unravel this country, trying to destroy it by engaging in targeting American citizens and facilitating that violence amongst the population that is targeting, and these are homegrown terrorists. Enemies of the United States like Paul Leon are being removed from office, and it's public information as to why, because you need to know who they are, and this is also relevant to disincentivizing terrorism in the United States. It is currently, by the way, 10:16 a.m. The entity is gang stalking. Yesenia and Mickey, John, the entity that's engaged in what is targeting inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. Oh, they're sitting around the circulation desk. They're maintaining ongoing surveillance around the bathrooms, making sure that they're keeping all the doors and the walls surrounded while they monitor genitalia. They do that on behalf of somebody named Paul Leon. He wants you to think of him as a mayor, somebody upright, someone with authority. He's a vagina monitoring psychopath. He's of the Nephilim. And the entity's maintaining surveillance in a library where half of them don't even know how to read. Okay, they're gang stalking. They haven't opened a book since they dropped out of high school. Okay, the entity's engaged in this pattern of conduct, and these psychopaths are inside of the venue monitoring. It follows right into the venue. This is P.O.C. It's currently 10:17 a.m. Stalking with impossible light inside of the venue, and Yesenia is gang stalking at that circulation desk. These are the same demons engaging in kidnapping. They're going to prison. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is 10:18 a.m. One of the tactics of harassment, and also when demons are tracking your steps, getting on the elevator to occupy it, which is a method of crossing path. They're doing so under a fake sun. These are psychopaths and engineer light. They're doing so with regard to also making sure that they are ahead of you, which they are doing also with regard to being hostile losers. They're embarrassed because they're exposed as being obsessed stalkers, and they don't have an explanation regarding why are you stalking so bad, because it's not a question as to whether they're stalking. The question is why. It's because they're demons. The entities engaged in this conduct, and they're embarrassed while they're being exposed as, guess that didn't go well, they're being exposed as demons that are obsessively engaged in what is monitoring genitalia, stalking, and monitoring as a population, and it's all over the internet. So that's relevant to the harassment that they engage in. It's to their own demise. You want to be rude to the federal prosecutor. I am a professional, but it's relevant to the threat that you pose to my life. You're going to prison for what you're doing. And I'm laughing at you still. Okay? This is P.O.C. You have an army of sex offenders gang stalking inside of the venue, lined up in the specific environment on behalf of the demons that are stalking in helicopters and planes, and they sit inside of the venue engaging in surveillance of genitalia all day long while they stare at books, stalking with noise and stalking with light. This is mental illness, all right? And it is public corruption. It is 10:20 a.m. and when your genitalia is under surveillance amongst what is a population of demons, that is an inhumane level of sexual violence that the people of the state shall be going to federal prison for, and it's a sex offense that cannot be expunged. It's not going to be removed, and it's going to be a matter of public information as well. Amongst the population of gang stalkers, they will be identified as the population of gang stalkers who are sex offenders as well. Just want to make sure that that's clear. It's currently 10:20 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, an ongoing public service announcement regarding mental illness in all of its faces. This is what you are witnessing in the public investigation regarding the sex offenders who are gang stalking in places unheard of, and it's something that you need to be aware of. This is where demons are lurking, and they are concerned with the genitalia between your legs.
maintaining puppets in the bathroom. The objective is in the engineer light. You already know about this light activity. I've captured it for years and I captured it as of late. So you're aware of the crime scene, which is bathrooms. Unfortunately, sex offenders are preying upon targeted individuals in private spaces where you maintain a reasonable expectation of privacy. And the government is engaged in violating that with regard to what is sexually gratifying as they inflict torture and a sexually motivated means of monitoring, which is the demonic combined with the predatory behavioral pattern designed to psychologically torture you, sexually traumatize you, humiliate you, violate you while they keep your genitalia under surveillance. That is, while your genitalia is exposed, while you're engaged in private activity, while you're in use of a toilet, stalking with amplified noise, molesting you, your genitalia with engineered light. They will be very much prosecuted as a demon-possessed population, as the government, as a sex offender. That includes the companies that are outside stalking with light activity under that face, and they're all going to be prosecuted. They're all sharing in what is a public sex offense. Okay, and these are demons that are targeting one person. You do so in the name of the business, that business is a sex offender. You do so in the name of the government, that government is a sex offender through you. And that's what's crouching in a stall, maintaining criminal presence, light activity, and audible noise. Monitoring on devices. There is no device inside of my genitalia. The entity is a sex offender. Unadulterated sexual violence. This is exceeding surveillance. This is obsession. This is mental illness, and it's predatory behavior. Okay, it's currently 10:26 a.m. Everybody inside of this venue is monitoring what the demons that you listen to and you see stalking with planes and helicopters. They're stalking with planes and helicopters inside of the bathroom as well. It's vicarious presence. It's P.O.C. It is 10:26 a.m. All right, this is again another ability to identify mental illness, closeted mental illness. This is impossible light activity that's underneath, not only reaching into the depths, just appearing. The personification of the demonic spirit is appearing through the impossible light. This is an indication regarding demonic spirits. That's not sunlight. And it's, again, underneath a substantial structure outside. It is 5:39 in the evening, and this is light that is appearing underneath on top of what is multiple shadows. This is very demonic, and it's appearing underneath. This is a sex offense. I'm going to prosecute as a sex offense, but this is how you're going to prosecute. Stalking with light is demonic. It's also sexually violent. It's an unlawful touching, and it's for a criminal purpose, and it's while psychopaths surround you, and they're monitoring you. And this is the government. This is the gang stalking police department, keeping you surrounded. And outside, they're engaging in stalking with light as well. You see that demonic light disappear? The outside, they're stalking you with impossible light, shooting off of the sides of their cars because they have super duper sonic headlights. And under the fake sun where you're being molested, it's the iteration on the inside. It's entirely demonic. You're witnessing demonic spirits, the personification of that demonic spirit through the impossible light activity. These are demons, and they're sex offenders. P.O.C.
(9ANW390) molesting as an entity. As I'm documenting the sex offenders stalking, waiting for me to come outside to stalk with plane and molestation in the path like predators who are conspiring murder, lying in wait. P.O.C. That's all impossible light activity. Moving across this storefront right here. Because those are demons, and it's coexisting with their crossing path on the opposite side of the street and on this side of the street. And that is no headlights. That's no reflection of the traffic lights at this distance. That's demonic light activity. The same thing is happening when the police are using lights and sirens, when the fire department are using lights and sirens, when the people of the state are stalking me by walking by. This isn't pedestrian foot traffic, and that's not traffic either. It's surveillance. They're stalking, and they're stalking a specific person, and this is mental illness. This is mental illness. Let me show you the light activity. The indication regarding the mental illness that every demon is seeking to conceal, including the fact that they're demons. This is gang stalking, and gang stalking is committed by the Californians who are all demon possessed, and they are severely mentally ill. The entire population. This is P.O.C. It's 9:38 p.m. where the Ontario International Airport is stalking. The entity is always engaging in criminal surveillance to the state. The people of the state are not stalking of their own plan, okay? This is the government system, and they are engaged in what is state action, P.O.C. They're across the street. These are demons. Very severe mental illness indicated by stalking. That's California Highway Patrol. That's exhibiting mental illness as well. That's the state of California. That's a department of the state. Gavin Newsom is not ignorant about gang stalking underway by California Highway Patrol. And I say that Michael LORENZ is not ignorant about the Ontario Police Department engaging in what is gang stalking, using helicopters and using the police department where there's the headquarters for P.O.C. That's mental illness while you're looking at that impossible light. These are demons that are sharing presence and engagement together. And California Highway Patrol is gang stalking the state of California with the Ontario International Airport. The Ontario International Airport is engaging in what is domestic terrorism, which is the state of California's pattern of conduct. The state of California is going to be one less airport, okay? And the Ontario International Airport is not the only one that's going to be treated in this regard, but the Ontario International Airport is definitely going to be removed. This is stalking. It's 9:44 p.m. The entity that is doing so with impossible light activity is exhibiting mental illness outwardly. The demon possessed are no longer, in other words, secretly amongst you. Their mental illness is no longer closeted, where their demented pattern of conduct is underway. They're actually, okay, obviously has no relation to the light that you're seeing dynamic. There's not even any car over here. The entity, the demons are always trying to make an explanation subconsciously to you about what you're surrounded by, such as a fake sun that remains over me all day long and sunlight that covers everything. And it has nothing to do with that. Sunlight has nothing to do with light that shoots on the wall while they drive by. They're demons. This is the outward demonstration of mental illness. The Ontario board and the Ontario executive team are being removed from position, and that terrorist is being removed altogether. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:45 p.m. An entity that is mentally ill, that is stalking and conspiring your murder, is an unlawful threat by the government, and their mental illness is also relevant to the unlawful threat posed to American citizens, because not only are they criminals conspiring murder while gang stalking you, but they're absolutely psychopathic, mentally deranged, and that's also posing a threat to American citizens, and it's relevant to the prosecution. This is P.O.C. I want to be clear, the impossible light activity is relevant to intent. There is absolutely no legal argument and no defense in court stating that you don't know the target individual, stating that you've never been around them before, you didn't know that they were there, stating that you're at work, you're at home, and you don't know anything about their presence. This is intent, and you're going to be prosecuted. This is P.O.C. That's the mentally ill engaging in their ongoing customary stalking with the demons, who are the people of the state. The same mental illness exhibited, not only based on the impossible light activity, but based on the fact that they're stalking in a helicopter, and the fact that they're stalking while they're looking at their criminal activity being posted all over the internet, and that the world knows what they're doing as well. Their secrets are out about being demons, and their secrets are out about being demons that are obsessively stalking me, and that they're looking forward to prison. The entity's engaged in what is harassing me because they're going to prison. Okay? That's not headlights. The people of the state are going to prison. You could just imagine that being a Starbucks employee, because Ocean's going to prison. Okay? Those are the people of the state that are mentally ill, gang stalking with the demons that stalk in helicopters and in police vehicles, and they committed kidnappings together. They're engaging with a stalking in the specific environment, flying over my head again, obsessed with me, monitoring my vagina. That's the Ontario police stalking me in the bathroom with impossible light, the same light activity in the bathroom.
These demons that are stalking go into the bathroom stalls to keep my vagina under surveillance with those demons who are going to federal prison. And the entity is engaged in what is ongoing harassment and terrorism, which is relevant to their terms in federal prison. And they're doing it because they're hostile about going to federal prison. Understand that. And it's directly relevant. I mean, the federal judge is going to recall this evidence when they are sentenced. It is currently 10:51 p.m. This is P.O.C. P.O.C. And the entity is repeatedly flying over me at the bus stop. Doing so with the people of the state, coming right here, standing over me, stalking, crossing path together with them. This is crossing path by traffic. The demon is using repeated helicopters flying back and forth over me, and this is the fourth time doing so. It is currently 10:59 p.m. This is the entity that's engaging in what is blatant stalking with regard to domestic terrorism by what is exposed those engaging in criminal surveillance, not law enforcement. And the Mike LORENZ has no problem whatsoever being exposed as one engaging in what is un-American and criminal activity, and doing so under the guise of being a police department, and he will be summarily removed from that position as well. The domestic terrorists are being removed from law enforcement, and the kidnappers are going to prison. Okay, that is the entity gang stalking from Jonathan Burnett, May 2019, all the way up to what is Vivanco on September 2025, September 28th. They're all going to prison, every single last one of them. It is currently 11 p.m. where the entity is engaged in what is the use of the resources of a police department to engage in criminal surveillance and harassment, engage in what is sexual violence, facilitation of federal stalking committed in furtherance of murder. Stalking me in a helicopter is that which the entity is engaged in furtherance of their admitted engagement in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder. This same agency also engaged in criminal defamation. They are indeed going to prison, and they are indeed going to be removed as a police department. This is P.O.C. And they're facilitating that ongoing criminal system in furtherance of murder together as an entity of demons who stalk me under a fake sun, whose mental illness is obvious, not only based on their stalking as a population, but based on their stalking with this engineer light. This is the Nephilim that conspire murder together. This is P.O.C. I just want to be clear, Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer and Tommy Allen Banks, Jason Isaac Fields, they're going to federal prison. The entity engaged in what is entertaining the criminal defamation of this corrupt department that had the audacity to defame my character and state when they were kidnapping me that I have any form of mental illness while they're kidnapping. The entity, while they're targeting and stalking me, they're going to federal prison for that. It's terrorism. While they are stalking, this is a body of evidence, thousands of videos of them stalking, they're going to prison for criminal defamation, and further to trying to steal my money and property and help Tracy Banks with a fake conservatorship. They're going to prison. This is direct evidence that's putting Tracy Banks and the entity of the Ontario Police, they're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:01 p.m. That's the entity fourth time. They're not going to it. The fourth time they're flying over me, targeting at F Street and Euclid where I'm at. P.O.C.